once again, whenever I hear that music, I know it's time for Seniors on the Move. Welcome, welcome everyone. This is your host, LaVada Theus. I'm just so happy to be with you today. We have a very, very special guest with us today. And I'm saying us because my co-host, Sandy Hamilton, is here. And oh my God, you're in for a real treat. Well, now for our guest. Oh my God, I'm so excited. We've been waiting for her.
Yes.
And now we have her tonight. She is Dr. Sherril Rieux. Dr. Rieux leads a successful practice in Beverly Hills, is an active member of the Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. She has over 18 years of experience, and during that time, she's developed a passion for preventing, controlling, and educating people on cardiovascular disease. She is well known in the community for speaking out on hypertension, diabetes, cholesterol, and obesity. You know, when I read that list, those are some of the factors that are contributors to COVID-19. They tell you to look out for all of these different illnesses. Dr. Rieux is here today to help to promote healthy lifestyles. She believes that with small steps, everyone can have a life of health, mind, body, and soul in harmony. So, without further ado, Dr. Rieux, welcome. It's all on you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I always love that opening. All the pictures are great. Yes, great. The music is great. Gets you, excited about what's going to be next on the agenda. Mm-hmm. So thank you.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so about me first. So I grew up in Compton, so I'm a Southern California girl. Mm-hmm. And then I traveled to New Orleans, and I'm a Xavier University of Louisiana graduate, HBCU. And then I returned here to go to UCLA for medical school. So I graduated from UCLA, and then I did my training and residency here at Kaiser Sunset. So right now, I am currently in private practice. I also do work urgent care for Kaiser. It's sort of like I never left. And I also do house calls for concierge medicine.
Wow.
I'm pretty diversified, I say.
Very good, very good. We had David London here at our last show talking about that whole concierge concept and how to apply that, to those of us who don't live in Beverly Hills. So it's glad to bring that service to our community.
Yes. I look forward to hearing more about what Mr. London had to say and hopefully working with him, because I think it's wonderful opportunity. Many of you probably remember when doctors came to your home.
Yeah, right. I remember that. House call.
Yeah. It was back in the 40s and 50s. And
that's right.
Until someone decided that they didn't want to pay for that anymore. But it's a very good service. And get lots of information calling on people in their homes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yes it was.
I do
Sandy,
remember.
Yeah, you remember those days.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Sherril, your specialties as it deals with cardiovascular disease and hypertension. I want you to share with us, your medical advice, because as those diseases exist, and primarily in the African American community, and we're talking about a vaccine. Now, how would that impact those who, because a lot of seniors saying, they're just really adamant about not wanting to take the vaccine.
That's me.
And one of the reasons is because their belief is that having those pre-existing conditions would have some impact. The vaccine would have some impact that could be even more detrimental. So can you kind of share with us, what is that a myth? Is there something factual in that?
Well, you know what? I'm going to talk about a little something before I get to that point, but that is news to me. So the point that you just brought up about the vaccines affecting chronic illnesses, and I'm going to come back to that. Okay. So one of the things that we know about COVID is that the mortality, the people that die the most often, or people with other chronic illnesses. Okay, correct. So if you have diabetes, high blood pressure, you have inflammatory diseases, people with chronic illnesses seem to not do as well. They seem to die at a higher rate than other people who don't have those illnesses, right? So it is very important for those diseases to be under control. So that is an important part of it. Now, when we talk about vaccine, I just attended on Zoom the National Medical Association Convention. That is a convention of African American physicians. And believe it or not, so one of our biggest topics was called vaccine hesitancy. So that's a new term. Okay. For all of those folks who have already decided that they're not going to take the vaccine. Now, the majority of people, what came across to us is because many African Americans do not trust the health community when they use vaccines, because we all recall the Tuskegee study where doctors and the government allowed something to happen that was not right. Okay, so that's one of them. And then you hear the news about vaccines causing autism and those type of things in our early children, but we proved scientifically that that's not the case. So we felt that people were saying these things based on those myths, not necessarily, not myths, because Tuskegee was real, but not necessarily because they thought it was going to make their already diseases worse. Okay. So I do want to talk about that. So a couple of things. One is it's not really fair to the medical community, science and research to say that you're not going to take a vaccine before one is even created. Many times people ask me, am I going to take the vaccine? Well, after we go through the research and after we prove that this vaccine is legitimate, that it's going to do what we think it's going to do, that it's going to protect us and prevent us from dying from COVID-19. And if it does all those things, of course I'm going to take the vaccine. But I would really like to stress to seniors and people in our communities, let's not say no yet until we have all the information.
That makes sense. Important. That is important. That does make sense. Absolutely.
Yes. One of the things in our history, many people forget, but I'm sure all of you know someone that suffered from polio. Exactly. Someone that had a paralysis. Well, do you know when the polio vaccine came out that could prevent any paralysis, they said Black folks didn't get polio. And so for years, we weren't even given the polio vaccine. And so we all have in our families people who suffered complications from polio. So it's not that, vaccines definitely can help to prevent us from dying. Now, it's unlikely we're going to have a vaccine that's going to prevent you from getting COVID, but with research we might, because what did we do with the smallpox vaccine? We actually eradicated smallpox.
That's right.
Right. So vaccines work in different ways, but a vaccine is not going to make your high blood pressure, your diabetes worse. It's just not. Vaccines do not at all do any of those things. So the vaccine itself is not going to bring harm to you. So that statement, what you just said, but I will definitely remember to bring that up to my physician colleagues and to my patients who come to my office. But no, a vaccine is not going to make any of your already chronic illnesses worse. It is not.
Well, you've helped to alleviate some of my fears because I'm one of those.
Oh, good.
They said, I'm not taking it. They're not going to use me for a guinea pig.
Well, I think, Sherril, what you touched on is very important, especially when we talk about our history. And that was what happened previously. And many people they're there. They're stuck there. They did it once, they'll do it again. I think our government, even though it may not look like that right now, I think we're far more sophisticated now to be beyond that kind of action. And that's my hope and my belief. So.
And what else, Sandy, that's going to prevent that is you have people that look like me that's out there helping to prevent that from happening again.
Exactly.
Okay?
Exactly.
Remember, because Tuskegee was that whole experiment was when doctors weren't even allowed in hospitals. We couldn't even be on staff for Black doctors.
That's right.
And so, do you know that there's a Black female physician researcher who's working at the NIH right now on the vaccine?
Right. I think she was interviewed not long ago. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we have people that we're sitting at all the tables, right?
Thank God.
Well, that's good.
That's progress. That's why I said I think we're more sophisticated now, and that's not someplace where we need to be stuck. And
exactly.
I understand that without information, then that's a whole different ballgame. But I'm so glad that you shared it in the light in which you did. My other comment is that I think it was this past weekend that the pastor who decided he was going to reinstate having in-house church services said he was doing that because clearly this is a virus that mostly impacts the elderly. And he said that so my feeling is that recently we're hearing that it impacts younger population. Okay?
Yes.
Now, I think even if it impacts the younger population, it's likely to impact the elderly population.
Yes.
Because I mean we're a sandwich generation now. We have, kids taking care of their parents, grandkids bringing grandma a glass of water.
Right.
So, can you talk a little bit about that aspect?
So initially, when we started seeing people in the hospital, the acute COVID, right, we were seeing mostly seniors, right? And part of that was because that was the most severe stage. And again, because most seniors have other diseases, the high blood pressure, the diabetes, so that they would be affected more. But with our second surge, that we've had, we saw a younger group of people coming through, right? And COVID always affected children. So we just didn't have enough statistics on children, but the pediatricians will tell you from the very beginning that children were being affected. Okay? Wow. The other thing in children, what we're seeing is children have died from COVID complications.
Yes.
So that has happened. But they're also getting this like post-inflammatory syndrome. Like they get better, but then they almost have something that seems like lupus. Something that is also happening after they've already got better. So every generation is being affected by COVID. Every single one of them. And you are right. So even the seniors, maybe you don't necessarily get it from another senior, but you very well could get it from a grandchild, or you can get it from a young adult, who's just passing through. So we are all susceptible.
I was very proud of my son who had been exposed. And he said, well, I guess I won't see you for 2 weeks.
That's right.
Won't come around. And I thought, he gets it. He knows that he could, if he had been positive and coming around me, then it certainly could have been that it could have spread to me. So I was very much appreciative of that.
Exactly. And I do think younger people are starting to get it. One is because they're seeing it more, right? So it's directly affecting them.
Right.
Either a parent or an aunt or coworker, somebody who has been very sick. So I think now it's becoming much more of a reality. But that is responsible, right?
Yes,
That's
exactly.
responsible.
Yes, I really enjoy it when I see these I appreciate these young people now that are being responsible. This has gotten their attention. Many of them, not the ones that are dancing in Beverly Hills, but
that's another group because
another group.
Because I also tested a lot of young people after the protest. And even after that, I will tell you the majority of them were negative. And that negative testing. And that is because many of them wore masks. Many of them were, they were trying to social distance as much as they could. Exactly. But they were responsible.
You mentioned symptoms similar to lupus. What would those symptoms be?
So like joint pains, inflammatory pain, rashes, mostly rashes, joint pain. And so what we don't know about that, we don't know the long-term effects, right? Because it hasn't been around enough for us to have studied that. And so, the best way to treat this is to prevent getting it.
Right.
I've heard some people complaining of digestive disorders. Have you heard anything relative?
So not necessarily digestive, but some people have had almost like a stomach flu kind of experience where they have a little bit of diarrhea, a little bloating, that kind of symptom. Yeah, so people have had that. Not so much as like heartburn or indigestion, but more the feeling of like a stomach flu.
Oh, okay.
Now, what about those who have recovered and they're now talking about there's long-term effects that, though you've recovered from COVID, you're still subject to have some side effects later on in life. You could have a lung issue. In fact, I think recently there was somebody who was going to have a lung transplant, which
actually there was one woman who did have a lung transplant. Yes. So, yes, I don't know the update on her, but the transplant was successful. But that's what I was alluding to, that this infectious disease, this virus, is causing some inflammatory and blood clotting issues. So the people that you hear with the lung, folks that get pneumonia, it scars the lung. And so when we don't quite know yet, because it's new. So basically we're looking at data from China and Italy and Spain, right? Because they're right. And so some people will have permanent scarring from the lung. Some people have gone home and had blood clots, shortly after recovering. And then they have a blood clot later on. And so right now we know that's why when we send people home, everybody goes home with an aspirin. And then some people who already had the blood clots in the hospital will go home with a blood thinner. So, and that's one of, that's what I was saying. This COVID is not just an infectious process that gets better. There are it's doing other things to our immune system.
Well, that's what makes it so different from just having the flu, as people try to present it. Oh, it's just like a cold or the flu, it'll go away. No, just because you get better, there may still be some lingering after effects of the disease.
That is very true. That is very true. Yes.
Well,
that's what we're seeing.
We've been seeing all these big gatherings. I was watching TV where it was 10,000 or something motorcyclists going to South Dakota or something, and one church had church services. What would be your advice relative to those kind of large gatherings?
Well, we know already that large gatherings, more than 10, and that's a real number. That wasn't drawn out of a hat, right? That's based on scientific evidence, right? That it increases your risk. Some of that we know from Spain. Why Spain was hit so hard, that was their soccer season. That many people were coming from stadiums and soccer, and all of those people were affected, right? Look in our own country. Look how much data we have from the Republican convention. We have people who were testing, and so we know we're positive, right? After that convention. And so we know that large gatherings definitely is a high probability of spreading. It's a lot of droplets. It's a lot of things that stay in the air. Because what we have learned in the past 2 weeks too is sometimes the droplets that, which are talking about cough and sputum, singing, because we know that's singing expels mucus too. That what we're finding is that it can linger for 15 minutes before it hits the floor.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
And so that's why gathering is not good. The other thing, think about it. It's hard to social distance with a lot of people, right? My girlfriends and I, it's 4 of us. And so when we get together, we definitely try to be outside. We sit far apart. We just have to talk louder. So
we're getting used to it.
Exactly. So gathering is not good. And what we really would like to promote is when you gather with seniors, and particularly that it's outdoors, that it's on the porch. Even when I go visit my mother, I go through the side gate. I go in the back of the patio. So, that's outside. So that is important. And that's something we need to just get used to doing. Fix up your patios. I mean, this is the time because we're going to be doing this for a while.
Right. Yeah. Well, what was it? The other one from the earlier was 3 years before they found a vaccine, wasn't it?
Right. You're talking about
the Spanish, what was it called?
The Spanish flu.
1918.
And
so they had some things in between, but we didn't really get it right. Yeah. But look how long ago that was. We have advanced medically. We're better at research. Right. We're better, we know some things, right? Exactly. So we don't necessarily know this virus in and out, but we know a little bit. We have a little heads up on it.
Right, thank goodness.
That's good.
Yeah, like I said, I think we're much further along than we were back in that Tuskegee experiment.
Yes, we are. But we don't forget it, believe me. Doctors don't forget either. So, so that's part of our history, and that's real.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And you can't, we can't dismiss it, but we don't want to get stuck in it. That's my thing.
Right, exactly. But you know what? The other thing we have to talk about too is we do need to socialize. We do need to find the new way because we're seeing a lot of depression in seniors. There have been seniors and actually other people too, that haven't been out the house in 4 months.
Yeah, I have some friends that haven't been out in 4 months.
That is not healthy. It is not healthy. It's not.
Yes.
It's not. So but what I find as a doctor, sometimes we're so anxious, you got to help them. You have to say, what can I do? Yeah. You can go sit on the front porch, right? You can wait for the mailman. I mean, your kids can sit on the sidewalk and you're on the porch. Yeah. Those things are okay.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So sometimes we have to give them people ideas of what they should start doing.
Right.
Those ideas are very helpful because I do know some people that just were afraid to come to the door even,
Yep.
So, yes. Because, I experienced the depression myself, when we first got into this. Because, all the things they're telling me not to do. And I was sitting there, feeling sorry for myself, looking forward to going in the bedroom and never coming out. for fear of, someone getting close. But it's been helpful, to know that, yes, I can go to the porch. I can, walk outside. I'm going for a walk as long as I have my mask on and am protected from.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Well, this has been great. Dr. Rieux, thank you so much. We're going to have you again.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Anytime.
All right. We're going to look forward to it. All right.
Okay.
Well, I hear that bell. Ding-a-ling. We're going to get that bell.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sherril.
That means it's time for us to sort of come to a close and have our senior moment.
This episode of Seniors on the Move is brought to you by our partners, whom inspire us to keep our seniors on the move. Empowerment Congress. Educate, engage, and empower. Mark Ridley Thomas, Supervisor, 2nd District, County of Los Angeles. And Willowbrook Senior Center, Sandy Hamilton.
Okay.
And I love this one, Sandy. I look for these things all week. There was a lawyer, 2 lawyers, in North Carolina, and there was a senior in a small southern town. They were in the trial. The prosecuting attorney called his first witness, a grandmotherly, elderly woman, to the stand. He approached her and he asked, "Mrs. Jones, do you know me?" She responded, "Yeah, I know you. Mr. Williams, I know you since you were a boy. And frankly, you've been a big disappointment to me. You've been a liar. You cheat on your wife. You manipulate people and talk about them behind their backs. You think you're a big shot when you haven't the brains to realize you'll never amount to anything more than a 2-bit paper pusher. Yeah, I know you." The other lawyer was stunned. Not knowing what else to do, he pointed across the room and he asked, "Mrs. Jones, do you know the defense attorney?" Yeah. I know Mr. Bradley since he was a youngster too. He's lazy, bigoted, and he has a drinking problem. He can't build a normal relationship with anyone, and his law practice is one of the worst in the entire state. Not to mention, he cheated on his wife with 3 different women. One of them was your wife. Yeah, I know him. The defense attorney nearly died. Oh my God. The judge asked both of the counselors to approach the bench. In a very quiet voice, he says, "If either of you idiots ask her if she knows me, I'm sending you both to the electric chair." Peace and love till the next time. Thank you, everyone. That was good.
That was good.
Yes, yes.
Great.